What's going on? We are live, live, live. So basically, um, not much has changed from last year to this year. Um, the question for this live stream is: can you survive economic instability? Okay. Can you survive a unstable economy? Okay, can you do that? Basically, a debt-based economy based off of lending and borrowing, insurance. Can you survive that? And that's what I'm going to talk about tonight because it's very, very important. Okay, um, a lot of the things are secondary, tertiary. Um, Ideas. It's not anything to do with anything. Cause see, here's the thing, right? Cause I know a lot of people are. I mean, they're just batshit crazy over relationship talk. Relationship talk. I have done my share of relationship talk. I'm thinking about reacting to some um, panel discussions I had. I'm kind of going deeper into the, I don't want to say rabbit hole, but I've been going deeper into just thought and just what the possibilities are for the future, and one of those things is using the tools that I have available, using the skill sets that I have available. And one of those is, definitely my website, brokegeniuses.com. I have the ability there to do all kinds of things. Being a tech, and I do all kinds of stuff as well. I'm not just a tech. Okay. I mean, that's why I just say I'm a genius, because it's easier for me to say I'm a genius than, just the other day, I helped a friend fix his sink, because I'm a handyman. And then I gave somebody some herbs because they couldn't sleep. Then the other day, I, you know, programmed the computer. Uh, it's easier for me to just say I'm a fucking genius and just call it a day and just hold that, into your cerebellum, then just explain, I have to do this. You know, I know how to do this. It's too much shit I know how to do. You know, it's not. It's like, okay, I fixed my furnace a couple weeks ago. Um, I gotta put a spark plug wire uh, in one of my cars. I mean, it's like, yeah, man, I know how to do quite a bit of things, but yeah, it's easier for me to just say I'm a genius. Okay, it's easier for me to explain that. It's like, oh, uh, but people don't comprehend. That's one of the things you understand, that once you develop yourself into a highly knowledgeable individual, and you've actually went out into the world and applied that knowledge and used that knowledge, right? You become a particular type of person that you can't really conversate with a lot of people because people are not on the same wavelength that you're on. They're not on the same frequency. So if I had a conversation with someone, you know, I'll give them a headache, one or two. Uh, they might even short circuit. Their brain might short circuit. Literally, like they might have a meltdown, like and it's like it's just you got to learn to just kind of be quiet and just let people think what they think. But it's not just about, again, relationships. It's more about, I would say, power. It's more about why uh the economy is having issues. It's outside world economies, uh, laws. It's all kinds of things that are more important actually than relationships, in the sense of relationships, because to be honest, relationships are a power dynamic. Okay, so it's a dynamic based off of power. If you have the power, basically, you can control the relationship. I mean, that's why I did the video. I did the video, The Secret. I don't really, I don't really know what people's problems is. I think what it is people already, they pigeonhole you into a person that is not valuable or whatever. And it's like, that's people have these popular clubs and stuff, and if you're not part of the popular club, then you're not important or whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay, crash out. Okay, that's all. Crash out, and I'm gonna watch you crash out. I'm the person that's driving down the street, and then I see people crashing their car. They out in the ditch. They, they car upside down because they was going too fast. And you're not supposed to drive fast. Definitely in wet conditions, snowy conditions, things like that. You're not supposed to drive fast like that. You're supposed to slow down, actually a lower speed than you normally go. I mean, that's just driver's ed 101. Like, and it's like, yeah, I see people doing that. And it's like, you know what? Okay, cool. And then I'm the type of person, right? I'll go buy that salvage vehicle for, like, you know, it was retail, what, $28,000. You got a loan from the bank for 28 grand or whatever, credit union. Then you had full coverage. Then the credit union, or actually the insurance company, just wrote it off as a loss, and then they sent it to a salvage company for pennies on the dollar. Then I go get it, and then I go take it to a body shop. They give me an estimate for, like, what, 6 grand. Get that done. It's gonna take them some months. Boom, I got a refurbished salvage vehicle for, like, what, 7 grand. It retails for 30 because, yeah, like, I see the nuances and shit. Like, a lot of times people, a lot of younger people, they just, they make fun of older people or whatever from different generations, boomers, silent generation. Yeah, they do stupid shit. Yeah, I'll be the first person to tell you that. But then they do smart shit. People always talk about the dumb shit they do, but what about the smart shit they do? Like getting a house when they were supposed to get a house, and then locking in, uh, you know, um, some type of equity in their house, or paying their house off, or buying multiple houses, establishing themselves. I mean, I'm not saying all, but baby boomers are established, or, whatever. But a lot of them are. A lot of them have worked a long period of time and, gained a lot of retirement money or whatever. And it's like, yeah, you just wanted to be impatient. You wanted to crash out. I'm gonna tell you something, because I hear these sentiments as far as the younger people. I'll just say people younger than myself, and their sentiments are, you know, you can't afford this home and this and this and it's like, you know what? I remember even myself and even my mother. My mother had to actually go live with my grandparents. Me and my mother, my father, we had to live with my grandfather and my grandmother for like a period of some months because she needed to save some money to get uh the house that we got, basically her first house and my dad's house. They had to save money for like some months to put down a down payment. Like that's literally had to do that. Like it was no entitlement. It was no, I gotta get this. It's gotta be affordable. And they had to put a. She had to put a fucking down payment. I mean, yeah, my mother was pretty much, I would say, a gynocrat, definitely matriarchal type woman that was on some Oprah shit, trying to pay for everything. Yeah, I'm. I mean, I'll tell you that. Like that, literally is what my mother was. She tried to kind of control everything, and you know, all that, getting with someone, and basically trying to control and shit like that. Yeah, all that. But the thing is, as far as money perspectively speaking, she saved about 4 or 5 months, and put a down payment. The house I got, I saved for years, to be honest. I pretty much was saving for, like, I would say at least a 4 or 5 year period. And it wasn't necessarily I even needed all of that. I didn't need that much to put down on my house. It was literally a couple grand, but I mean I needed to have a couple grand to put down. I got help from a friend, which I didn't even need help. It was a situation where he said he wanted to chip in, which was cool, but it's like, yeah, I mean, I didn't even get anything from him at first. I put the whole money down. It's like a few grand, and he gave me some money back later. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the thing is that, yeah, you had to have some type of down payment. You had to have the money to fix the house up if it needed to be fixed up. It was no entitlement. It's no you getting this and this. This whole you. It's like it's like the sentiments are like you supposed to get this. I mean, yeah, I know houses prices are the affordability aspect of it is an issue, but yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do about it? I mean, it's like, it's not anything in your control other than you got to play a harder chess game. Okay, so for example, speaking of chess, right? I'm a chess player. All right, some opponents are harder than others, obviously. Okay, if I'm playing an easy opponent, I can toy with them. I can play around with them. I can, kind of have a little fun. If I'm playing someone that's fucking difficult to fucking play, uh, I can't just look at it like, "Oh, I'm gonna toy with this person." I have to make every calculated effort and move to strategize myself to win that game. I can't just, expect that I'm gonna win. I can't expect it's gonna be easy. I gotta fucking make sure I don't make any mistakes. One and two, uh, try to come up with some type of strategy to win. And it's gonna be usually it'll be a dog out match where basically opening game, middle game, and end game makes all of the difference, and different fundamentals and strategies. And I'm gonna be honest with you. As far as chess, I used to fucking suck balls at chess. Like before, like basically before I got married, I was like terrible chess player. I was okay, but then I started learning the fundamentals. Once I start like kind of like really learning the fundamentals, actual got like I got like lessons on chess. I started getting some type of foundation to where I can spring forward that from that foundation. Before I was just winging it. I was just playing, any any way I wanted to and trying to just figure it out. And it's like a lot of people that's what they be trying to do. They just be trying to like just freestyle and do whatever they can do and just try to, do the best they can. And it's like, yeah, learning the fundamentals of chess and learning the different types of moves and strategies and stuff like that make all of the difference. Okay. Make all of the difference. I mean, it's like night and day. Okay. Then after I learned that, I mean, it was like I was moonwalking. Literally my whole life improved. It was like Lawnmower Man or some shit, part two or something. I literally like I went from this, kind of, okay dude to like just fucking Bobby Fischer or some shit. Like I literally improved my chess game to the point where I'm like, 200,000 or something in the world as far as chess.com, to, like some people are like in the millions because they like, newbies or they don't know how to play or whatever. I mean, you start off at 1,200, but then, usually people go backwards from there, to like as low as like 200 or 300 level or whatever. I was like 400 level when I, like literally like probably I would say, uh, probably 11 years ago, about 11 years ago. So, I mean, it's something that you have to do, according to how hard things are. Like I've said this many a times, as far as housing in the Midwest, like you should just let someone smack the shit out of you if you don't have any property, if you haven't bought any property, if you're a anywhere between a 50 to $100,000 range as far as your income, and especially if you have a stability, if you have an employment stability, and you never bought a house before or whatever, and you're renting for like your long term benefit or your long term plan, yeah, you need to be lined up, and yeah, you need to get in the line for people that need to be smacked, because basically Midwest real estate is some of the lowest cost real estate in the country. I mean, it's not the lowest, but it is low. You know, my conversation gets a little complicated when you're talking about the DMV area. Uh, obviously California, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, different parts of the world. It gets more complicated when it comes to talking about real estate, because in New York, I mean, real estate is fucking expensive as hell. California, same. To live in the hood, you need to spend $1 million in the Los Angeles area. I mean, that's kind of fucking difficult. Like, that is fucking difficult. I ain't gonna lie. Like, the conversation gets kind of a little out of reach in certain regards. But, it's parts of California that's probably more remote. You might have to get you a Honda, a Civic or something, or a Honda Accord, and you know you pretty much live really far away I mean, like that's the only other way. Like that's usually how that works, you know. And then once you do that, then you basically work that until you get, you know, a better property or a property that's closer, and then it's just kind of like chess. Like you just, all right, you there, you got a property there, then you got a property closer because you supposed to be saving your money, kind of 10x in it or whatever, if possible. Then moving on from there, you know, to another property, and then next, you know, like ideally, let's just say five, let's say even 10 years, you got a property that's like $1.5 million in California, you know, because you bought a property for like maybe $200,000 or $300,000, like maybe an hour, maybe if you're 2 hours away from the greater Los Angeles, Orange County area, whatever. And then you basically, you know, just basically just kept going with it, you know, built up some equity, maybe bought um a two flat building or three flat building if they have, you know, and just as a hedge and a way to collect rent, you know. I mean, it's advanced, you know, and it, you know, rightfully so. I mean, California has some really good weather. I mean, right now in the Midwest, I mean, it was warm. It's warm the other day, but when it gets cold, man, I mean, it is crazy. You know, trying to deal with that, you got to be a damn near caveman to survive. I mean, that's the secret. You know, to living in the Midwest and living in Chicago and other parts. You know, whether it be Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, you know, Illinois, even Iowa. You know, of course, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, if I didn't say so. To live in those places, you have to develop yourself to be kind of somewhat of a caveman. Yeah, you got to know how to fucking survive the cold, the harsh, cold winters. And the thing is you don't really got to worry about that shit in California like that. Like if the weather is normally decent. Like I remember when I was in San Diego, I was in San Diego with a t-shirt in what, January. I mean, that's unheard of. Like, I mean, unheard of. So it's just, you know, the weather is just kind of tropical or something like that, or desert weather. And it's like, yeah, man, people flock there. You know, people have been flocking to California for over 200 years. And, you know, it's highly populated, and it's highly desirable, and it's highly competitive because, you know, a lot of people move there. So it's just a more advanced type of situation. You know, it's more advanced. You can't fuck around. You can't make no mistakes. Shoot, and you might need to do certain things, like different things, like, you know, one of the things that I'm noticing in Chicago, okay, is one, the thing is Chicago is having a lot of, like, on the south and west sides of Chicago, some parts of the north side as well. There is just, it's like Gotham City, okay? It's going down. It's because I see dudes that basically post um different 911 dispatch calls, and they're, and I'm seeing the actual crimes that are going on in progress that's not reported to the news. I think like less than 1% of actual crimes and you know, criminal acts and stuff like that go reported on the news. So you still got like 99% of things that are going on that don't even get reported. Some stuff is like, if you ever saw the movie Nightcrawler, and I've mentioned this before, like uh if you know anything from watching that, it's certain news stories that can't really even be reported. Like they're too strong as far as an explicit nature to report. They have to, if they report it, they can't even show any video of it because it's too graphic. So it's like, yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff is going on, and the police can't really do much because it's just they don't have a system to do anything. Like, it seems like, because they don't really have control over Chicago like that. Like, it just, that's from just looking at it from a perspective of a chess player, just looking at it from like, okay, if I was the mayor of Chicago, what if I just really looked at Chicago like this? Chicago is pretty much kind of out of control. Now, a lot of these are south and west side of Chicago. Okay. You got, south side is the biggest landmass in Chicago. West side is not as big, but it's close to downtown. Uh, West side has a lot of heroin activity. They known for, basically, it's a hub. It's a hub for heroin. And not to say the south side doesn't have the same thing. I mean, but it's just, you mix in that, selling drugs, right? Because you got people compounded into, when I say people, I'm saying black people compounded into this, because black people have this independent mindset, and that independent mindset, that independent behavior, uh it kind of it kind of messes them up. It makes them non-competitive, economically, business wise, in a lot of different areas. And one of the things that's kind of weird a little bit is, legally, they black people have a hard time in America forming coalitions and starting businesses, but in illegal activity, they do that relatively okay. Not in the sense that they don't have problems doing that, because obviously that's the reason why so many murders, so many uh you know violent acts or whatever, right? Because these uh, basically gangs or crews that sell, do involve themselves in all kinds of illegal criminal activity, right? They can form these coalitions relatively easy, but doing things legally is like pulling teeth, and that's where it's kind of weird, because the way I look at it is like, yeah, you should be able to form some type of coalition and put some monies together and start a business just like you do illegally, right? But not to say it is not some people out there doing it. It is some people out there doing it, and I don't want to discredit the ones that are actually doing it. But most people, a majority of people, one, don't have a business mindset, and two, don't are not able to have some type of coalition with other black people. You know, but the a lot of the black men and even women in the south side and west side, because they don't have any jobs, because you need businesses to have a job. That's just, I I don't know what it is. I mean, it's like, you know I come off like I'm elite or some type of like I got my pinky in my mouth or something when I talk about stuff like this. But it's very simple. It's like it's not that complicated, but I guess to a lot of people it is. Now, I mean, obviously, this is the history lesson on this. If you don't, a lot of young people probably don't know, but the kind of I'll say above average individuals, definitely older, definitely the boomers know of why the black businesses have took a drop over the decades. They know, they probably know more than mostly everybody, and I definitely know. And it has something to do with basically post civil rights era. I won't go into detail, but basically that's where the drop off is. Basically, when black people were kind of um let's just say green lighted to patronize white businesses. They basically, that's what they did. The whole white man ice is colder narrative kind of just took a form, and they just took it and went off with it. They didn't the concept of them actually supporting each other's businesses were a kind of a it was a foreign it slowly became a foreign concept. Same thing happened with basically you know the whole relationship dynamic with black women and black men. I mean, it's the same thing. They gave black women welfare as a ploy, you know, to separate the men from the women, and then it just took off. Took off like a rocket ship. Now the thing is, you got to understand, these were poor women. These were women that were basically disenfranchised already. Obviously, a woman that went to Ivy League or went to a HBCU probably has some type of sorority background. She's not she's not necessarily trying to file for welfare in Section 8. I mean, she's trying to get some type of professional job and career or whatever, but you know, she's not necessarily uh looking for Uncle Sam. But you do have one element about what people don't understand about people that do have degrees is it is a sizable amount of individuals that have degrees, as well as even bachelors, I mean master's degrees, that are on welfare. A lot of people, like, when I posted that, when I made a video about that, I think people just were not really aware. Even myself was not really aware of how many individuals that have a master's degree. And I'm not even talking, this is race unexclusive. Like, people with master's degrees, about a quarter of them are on welfare. Now, that's not really hard for me to understand, because I've been out there. I know how hard life is. A lot of times people do get entitlements, and entitlements don't mean shit. You might think that you supposed to get something in life, but capitalism doesn't really work like that. It doesn't care if you got a degree. Capitalism actually doesn't care if you got a degree or don't have a degree. And what I mean by that is, it just cares that you have capital. However you got it, that's all that matters. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of how that works. And when you get one of the things, I admit, me personally, I have an issue with this as well. So I'm not trying to bash anyone. I also, have some type of entitlement complex. You go and you have all of this experience in life. Your resume is impeccable. You're college educated. You've checked all of these boxes, right, in life, and you think that you're supposed to have different entitlements, and that's what you think. But the reality is, there is no entitlements. It's kind of like looking at yourself like you're a gladiator, right? Let's go back to let's go back about maybe about 2,000 years or so, and they have the basically uh, gladiators at the Roman Colosseum, right? A lot of these gladiators were caught slaves, or they were, maybe prisoners or something like that, or captives. I don't necessarily uh, say one or another, regardless of the fact these gladiators, they are forced to fight to the death. That's what we know. Okay, that being said, being forced to fight to the death, that concept, that reality, you gotta understand that. You gotta look at that for what it is. That's really wild, right? Just imagine, okay, you broke the law or something. You did something kind of maybe even heinous or whatever. Maybe you you cut some you stab someone, or you kill someone or whatever. Then you got caught by the Roman soldiers or the Roman guard or whatever, and you're sent off to be basically a gladiator, and you have to basically fight to the death. You just imagine those, because I wrestled in high school, so hey, I'm going along with this, right? Um, I wrestled my freshman year and sophomore year in high school, and you know, yeah, Greco-Roman wrestling. That's what it's called. And basically, you're in this like bullpen. You're in this bullpen, and you got other gladiators that are to the left of you and to the right of you. These people are crying. They're pissing on themselves, pooping on themselves, probably throwing up. Um, they're sweating. They're scared shitless because they're about on the other side of that, outside of that bullpen, is savage, crazed lunatics that are murderous, that kill for survival and kill for fun, because they're like, you know, how it worked is because a lot of you guys don't know, didn't read, you don't read, and you weren't really educated, so you don't really know shit. So it's like, the thing is that it's not like the because you had two divisions. And, the movie Gladiator goes into this, and second one goes into it as well. I haven't even seen the second one, but this is how heinous it was, how savage it was, right? What's going on, my brother? My brother, right there, man. What's going on? How's it going, man? Yeah, so it wasn't like they were fighting other people that were caught, in a sense of what you think, like they're fighting people that were even Steven like them. Because you gotta understand, these guys that were in this bullpen, they were not trained to fight. Not all of them. Some of them might have been. It depends on where they came from. If they were like caught warriors from another warring tribe, they might have some type of fighting skill. But not all of them. Okay. Um, some of them, to a degree or another, have some type of fighting ability, or none. And you got to understand, you got to go with the whole. Got to remember these people were pissing and shitting on themselves because they knew on the other side of that bullpen outside in that coliseum was basically just they're going to be executed for the most part because they knew who was on the other side of that, and it was like basically imagine because the other side of who was actually in the coliseum waiting for them were trained, highly skilled gladiators. Okay, um, it's like imagine the most heinous fighters known to man, and they have all kinds of weapons, swords, and all kinds of things, right? As well as animals. In case you tried to run, they were already there. They had lions, uh, you know, tigers, all kinds of shit. If you ran, the fucking animals would just tear your ass up. So it was a show. Also, you gotta understand this is all of the people in Rome were there watching this. They wanted to see a show. They wanted to see the best show on earth, like literally. And that's what they got. They saw all of this savagery. I mean, just it was just unbelievable, and it's like, yeah, you had to fight the best killers and fighters and gladiators in Rome, and why people were pissing and shitting and crying because it's like, yeah, it's the odds of you surviving that is slim to none. Now, some people obviously did, but most of them, you got to understand, they didn't, and that's what you were up against. And it's like, I mean, when they came out and they went into actual, I guess you would say, battle. Some did the best that they could, but you got to understand, it was a utter bloodbath. Because basically these people were sent to just basically be, uh, you know, flesh to just pounce on and just be killed for display. 'Cause that's why I was such of a big deal, and you don't want to talk about all the aspects of the different things that went on. I'm not gonna go into detail on that because then you talking all kinds of shit. That is you starting to go into rainbow talk basically because some of those moves that they had to do was just, eh. When I was in high school, they used to say because we used to have the like tight, um, they call them singlets where you wore when you wrestle. They said it looked gay, and you know what? I mean, it kind of did, but yeah, that's that's why that shit. That's a correlation to what was actually going on around that time and what they had to deal with um during that time, like different techniques and stuff to actually survive that shit, man. It's just crazy, man. You start going down that rabbit hole. Oh my god. Oh shit. Um, but yeah, like I say all of that to say that I don't really I got veered off into that wonderful story, and I forgot where I I started that, or the reason why I mentioned that. Um and I guess it was something to do with just kind of how hard society is or whatever. But um, the conversation is basically, yeah, can you survive this economic collapse? And the thing is it's a situation where it might not be the gladiator. I mean, the modern gladiator is probably the prison system. I mean, the prison system is pretty savage. This guy's on YouTube. They talking about prison stories and stuff like that. Um, but like, and a lot of people are getting arrested, going to prison. A lot of people are crashing out, going to prison. Now, I mean, that's part of trying to survive. I mean, America is, some people call America a prison colony. You know, because it's America has some of the highest incarceration rates amongst its populace in the world. So, in essence, I mean, I guess that's appropriate, right? A lot of people that are on probation and all kinds of other stuff. Me personally, right now, I mean, I'm in the process of trying to, expunge stuff. And I gotta, summon things back up to court to just get them dismissed and all this shit. Um, it's just yeah, it's a America actually is it's like a police state. Really, to be 100% honest with you. I mean, um, Chicago itself. I mean, I was actually talking about Chicago, but Chicago actually is kind of similar to New York. I've never been to New York, but it's got a lot of similarities. It was designed based off of New York. I'm not intimidated by Chicago. Um, I've kind of, you know, I mean, it's where I'm kind of from in a sense. You know, I lived on the South Side, for years, damn near, over a decade, damn near, back and forth. I never had an apartment in Chicago though, because mm, I tried, I think before, but it was like, no, I never had a common experience of having an apartment on the South Side, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I actually did. I avoided that, but um, the thing is that a lot of this, is due to, like I say, the combination of the single mother homes, father not being in the household, leading to chaos. Um, and the lack of businesses, no jobs, people on crash out mode. When you don't have no job, it's you just all of us you're indoctrinated to crash out mode. It's nothing left but crash out mode. You don't have employment, then they this they know this. Like, I mean, you know, um the told my cousin yesterday. I said it's chess out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, his dad, my uncle, we used to play chess. I'm like 17 years older than my cousin, and it's like he don't really play no chess. His daddy was, you know, just kind of wanted to live a life of pleasure. It's like a, hedonist pretty much, and using all kinds of drugs and shit, and just pretty much neglected his children. But I mean, he did. I guess he did the best he could. But yeah, he used to play chess. His dad was real smart. My uncle was smart as fuck. The motherfucker played chess. He played tennis. He went to like a Ivy League Ivy League school in the north side of Chicago, and went to a boarding school because my grandparents had money and shit. Went to a boarding school where, like, they were kids of senators and congressmen, stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, man, a lot of things are formulated based off of a plan that is unfavorable to you, you know, and they know. I mean, it's kind of like people, the whole meme with the elites holding people up like puppets. It's kind of basically what I'm talking about, and it's like people don't see it, It's like, I see it, I know about it, and it's like I don't fall for it. I don't fall for it. Like I told my cousin. I told my cousins a long time ago. I told them, uh, shit, like 15 years ago. I remember. I said one of my cousins, he died, and got shot. Some sort of ambush. He was outside, and cats came up with some guns and shot him. And it was over some bullshit. But the thing is that one of the things that I told them when they were younger was that you don't have to do all of these things to try to impress women. You don't have to do all of that. It's not needed. Because at that time I was what? I was in my late 20s, and I already knew what was up. I mean, that was like my Mustang era. When I had my Mustang, I had a drop top Mustang. It wasn't no GT though, but it had, I put Flowmaster mufflers on there, so it had like an extra rev to it, increased horsepower. It's one of the best cars I ever had, because it was like it just, once you get a Mustang, it's like kind of like getting a Corvette. It's like a totally different. It's like joining a club or some shit. But the thing is this. One of the things, when I had that car, is like, other than setting Chicago on fire. I mean, I was I was like, man, what kind of animal was I? It's probably a rat, probably a hood rat. But um, the thing is that, yeah, I told him, I was like, you don't have to impress women like that, like you think. Like, a lot of these dudes out here, like, if I had to do a survey, you know, of like ex hood dudes, right? They used to like risk everything trying to sell dope and trying to do all kind of shit to make money. And I had to ask them, like, okay, in hindsight, what you were doing was to impress slightly. Some of it was to do, most of it was to do to impress women, right? Yes or no? Most of them is gonna say yes. And one of the, and it's kind of like, I can change the picture of this video to actually, because it's this debate, right? In the debate, let me I'm gonna put the link out there in case anybody wants to talk, because you know let me see here. um this is not, I'm not just trying to uh wait, hold on. So how do I um let's see. Okay, all right, there we go. So the thing was is that, when the reason I would ask that question is because a lot of these guys out here, the debate, the whole debate is the drug dealers versus, or the street niggas versus the squares, or uh the educated lames, if you want to call it whatever. Actually, it's really the street niggas versus the 9 to 5 niggas. That's what the whole the chick that went viral talking about we we because see here's the funny thing. I did a whole live stream. I was in the car. I was talking about this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was 2 years ago or a year ago. I did the whole discussion about the bait. I call them beta masters. I know it sounds funny, but it is what it is. The reason why I call them beta masters is I this was a people this is what people do, right? They they be quiet and they don't say anything, and they're just sucking up your information like a sponge. And you thinking it's people are not really taking your us being credible, but all the while they like goating your ass in private, and they just gonna take absorb the information and not give you any attaboys or any type of critique or anything like that. But basically what I'm saying is what I was saying is totally true. What I said 2 years ago, because basically the beta master reason why I call them beta masters is they are the quintessential betas, but they put themselves in a power position by basically it could be a combination of education, entrepreneurship, or it could just be pretty much more entrepreneurship. Like, for example, prime example, Mark Zuckerberg dropped out of, I think, Harvard in like a year or two or something like that, and he just kind of developed his whole website or whatever, and then it took off. It morphed into Facebook, then Meta, or actually Friendster, then Facebook, then Meta. Zuckerberg is just a prime example of what I call them. I call them beta masters because they put themselves in a position of power, um, proxy of starting some type of business or venture or whatever, and then next thing you know, they're hiring and firing hundreds of thousands of people. They're you know impacting people's lives, and this person, without the money, it will be that quintessential beta, but they put themselves in a power position. And because this conversation started from, I remember years ago, people were talking about how is Bill Gates so powerful, or these other influential people that obviously look like nerds, but they're very powerful. Words were they didn't have words for it, okay, or whatever. And even during that discussion, it's not like I came up with it during that construction. That discussion. I basically came with it a long time ago when not basically much after the discussion, because when I started to get into the dynamics of the different alpha and kind of male hierarchy, a light bulb moment clicked on, and that's where I came up with that, and it made hella sense because, yeah, the beta might be looked down on. And don't get me wrong, these guys, even with money, they are very, very, very uh insecure. Very insecure. Um, you get that from even see what Elon Musk, like, see how insecure and sensitive he is. Like, it's I haven't even gone into like the whole psychology of these guys, but basically they're not just a regular beta male. They're more of into mastery, and they actually they're higher than a standard or a regular alpha because they have a powerful position. Okay, and that's where education and skills and understanding becomes more powerful. That's why I was going to do the live stream about Asian dominance and kind of close it out because I got to do that. And the thing is that that's what I was talking about. I was talking about how these guys that were had the pocket protectors and everything, and they had all of these books and stuff they had to carry in the hallway, and people made fun of them. The Vivek Ramaswamis of the world, right? These guys, these guys definitely had a chip on their shoulder, and they carried that. And yeah, they're in a powerful position. I know people have some type of kind of negative correlation, or they don't like these guys, and I get it. I understand. But these guys are more, and they don't like it because these guys are rich and powerful. And they are not. The average person is trying to figure out, do they have enough money to buy a hamburger, you know, for lunch tomorrow? And these guys own, companies. And it's like, yeah, it's a thing where the only okay, I would say definitely black people have a serious problem with, and I'm gonna tie it back into the lady talking about dating drug dealers. Black people have a serious problem with understanding education and the power of being a nerd and all of that type of stuff and hitting the books. They're the most averse to that. Okay, I would say Hispanics also, but not as bad as blacks. But I'll say they'll be dead second as far as they have similar issues as well. But yeah, I did a video about beta masters like 2 years ago. I was talking about that. I was like, these guys are gonna come back. They're gonna have a revenge of the nerd moment, and you're gonna be working for them basically, or you're gonna be trying to apply for their companies. But yeah, she was saying uh these guys, man, they gonna become this successful CEO, and then they not gonna, and they gonna start getting some pussy, and then they're not going to want to date a single mother that is maybe quasi successful even in her own right, but she was dating drug dealers in high school, and she said we were victims. When I heard that, my heart tickled a little bit because I went to a middle class black high school in the south suburbs of Chicago. Okay. Um as the older I get, the more I realize how big of a deal that is, because a lot of people, it it's not, it's not the case. They didn't, they came up from a poor environment. A lot of people came up from poor environments. Some people rarely came up like in an upper middle class or upper class environment, of course. But the thing is that yeah, I saw those women that dated drug dealers. I knew them. My sisters were them. Um, you know, I saw what the result was for those women. Uh, Personally, I was the 9 to 5 dude that was, what I'm saying, trying to motherfucking, see if I can get in where I fit in, you know. And the whole thing was, the whole meme is that these guys was saying, when you at work, the drug dealers or whatever street dudes was like, when you at work, I'm drilling your chick, basically. And then the 9 to 5 dudes was like, well, when you get locked up, I'm drilling your chick. So it's like, yeah, this back and forth, right? You know, these are societal nuances. This is human competition, right? As well, right? So that's the whole thing. Like, I told my cousins, I'm like, you really don't have to impress these chicks like you think you do. And the reason why I know this is because, again, it goes back to me being in the Chicagoland area, coming up, seeing actually what these women actually like, and it doesn't have that much to do with money. It doesn't have that much to do with clothes. It really, to be honest, it has something to do with a man's ability to basically talk. I mean, it's really, I can't make it more basic than that. Like, the guys that I know, I mean, I'm not saying you gotta be that you gonna be a total bum. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that, but you don't have to you don't have to like really go all the way out. Now, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're I'm this is I'm talking to a guy that's probably like broke as hell. Okay? That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not talking to, like, guys that's basically just, on their feet and they're doing okay or whatever. But it's from a perspective of somebody trying to be up and coming. A lot of times guys like that, they feel intimidated and they feel a certain lack because they don't have much. They're struggling. They don't really have, their clothes might not be on nothing or whatever. But the thing is, the tripped out thing is all of my life I've known this secret, and this secret is it's not nothing to do with the video I did before. This is another secret. The secret is these women don't care about if you got a fucking Benz, a Range Rover, and you wearing the latest fashions and shit like that. They don't really care about, especially if you tall. If you're above like 5'9", they don't care about how much money you got and what designer, what foreign, what car you have, because basically it kind of goes back to like it goes to like animal nature. Like, if you are, somewhat, I would say it would help if you're tall and somewhat attractive, but you don't even have to be really attractive. Like, it's just your ability to have conversation with women that makes the difference, really, to be honest. It doesn't have anything to do with cars, clothes, jewelry, you know, status or anything like that. And that's from a perspective of like, also, actually, no. I was gonna say it has something to do with young and old. No, it don't. No, it don't. So, and I'm saying this from me personally. I've done this. I haven't always been, the guy with cars and clothes and how a house wherever it is. I haven't always been this guy. Okay, so it's from my own personal experience, and even worse, my friends. My my friends are some of the most. Just I just I ain't gonna dime anybody out. One of my homies just told me he was pimping, and I had no idea. I had I had no idea whatsoever. I didn't even think about that. But the thing is my other friend that I basically hung out with in high school, absolute dog. And I mean, he was running through them, and I mean, he had no job. I mean, so it's like, I, obviously, I mean, high school is one thing, but it's not like he just did in high school. He became he became more of a terrorist after high school. So I've seen these, and I've experienced these my own personal self. Like, and I know that you don't have to risk your ass, literally, i.e., going to prison, to go out and do these things. Like, you could I'm not saying you should take a vow of poverty and then just be broke. I'm saying you don't have you thinking you gotta go out and ball out and get chains and cars and shit, risking yourself trying to sell drugs and shit. And it's like, here's the thing, and when I go on, I remember I'll join a panel. Well, yeah, I joined a panel. I think I was talking about this, yeah, or the BGS panel. I don't know. I gotta go try to see if I can find like all these panels I used to join, because I was dropping straight just gems. But the thing is this. All right, when you go get locked up, for however long you get locked up, and I'm saying this is for me. This is basically what I've seen. This is not something I researched. It's not something I had to research. Fortunately for me, I was able to see it hands on. Um, I mean, basically, I had two older sisters. They both dated drug dealers. Okay, had children by drug dealers, street dudes, gangbangers. Okay, so I, I mean, their friends, they had the same, dating preference or whatever. So I've seen this. Okay, so it's not something I don't know, and something I'm talking about based off of some anecdotal research or some shit like that. It's something that I've seen firsthand. And these weren't like rundown chicks. These were like the chicks that, basically you gonna try to holler at in the fucking mall, and it's like, yeah, big asses and big titties and all of that shit. Like, I mean, jungle booties. They called them jungle booties in the 90s and shit. But the thing is this, right? One of the things that you thinking you got to do all of this stuff, right? When them dudes go to prison, and I should laugh, and it is a laugh. I mean, life is funny as fuck when they go to prison, and they notice when they get out, they square up. A lot of these dudes, when they go to prison, they get out and they square up because they realize they got had. They didn't know. So the thing is this: when the dudes go to prison, the squares are now fucking the drug dealer chicks. The 9 to 5 dudes are drilling. And it's like, yeah, it's some funny shit. I mean, it's some hilarious shit when you really think about it. As an older man thinking about this shit, it's funny than a motherfucker, because it's like, it's kind of like what people were saying about the whole Pookie and Ray Ray shit. Like, they really should have some type of coalition and come together, because pretty much, I would say, some form or another, non-black people do work together, even like as far as, yeah, I mean, you do have a separation as far as like, in high school, across all, just races or ethnicity. You have the jocks and the nerds, right? So they don't really necessarily um commune, right? They don't share in each other's company like that. They kind of have not so much any beef, but the jocks tend to have beef with the nerds, right? Because they make fun of them. But the jocks have a problem that the nerds don't have. The jocks can't really pass school that well. They can't really a lot of jocks have problems with, studying, doing homework, and passing a grade. That's been like that before I was born. Okay. So that's where the kind of like the beef comes into play, and the thing is all of this is being played out, right? This was talked about weeks ago with the whole Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and the Indian coalition and stuff like that, right? Because see, here's the thing, um, all of this is related. These are beta masters. They are basically wagging their tail, flexing their muscles, right? And the thing is that yeah, like it is a thing, right? They're taking this um as adults, they holding on to the whole high school jocks and nerds thing, right? It's human competition on the highest level now. These guys are CEOs and billionaires and mega millionaires now, and they still remember getting picked on in school, getting thrown in the locker, stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna bring myself into it, but no, I was not getting thrown in no fucking locker. I was not a street dude, but I was a, I was like I would say I was more of a buffer type. I was in between the jocks and the nerds, but and the street dudes. Like I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I kind of was on different sides of the fence. Like how can I put this shit? Like I was like Neo. Like I was just like bending wherever things go. Cause be honest, like I said before, in Chicago, it's not that much separation between the gang culture and basically everybody else. So yeah, it was a lot of dudes that was like in my high school, it was the jocks were actually in gangs. A lot of the jocks were in gangs. It was kind of tripped out, but the jocks were in gangs. They were gang bangers, and the nerds weren't gang bangers. So it was like, okay, obviously the street dudes were definitely in gangs, right? So it was like, okay, well, these guys, they live on your block, you walk to school together or whatever. I mean, it's not like you can disassociate yourself from these people. Like, so yeah, that's kind of how that went. But um yeah, it's a thing where you grow up and then you see these women idolizing these guys in high school, and then they get pregnant by them, have a baby or two. They eventually break up, you know, um, get older, and then yeah, even them, they get bitter. The women actually get bitter because I didn't really talk that much about the women. The women get bitter because these women that date the drug dealers and stuff, and you know, they have the babies, and then they getting older, they gotten older, and dating is hard for them. They got these children. They kind of going into the professional world. And one of the things about the professional world, and black people now are in a like a different frontier. a lot of black people are able to make money that their, let's just say, parents and grandparents had a hard time to earn or whatever. Now, to make money is a lot easier. To earn capital, a lot of barriers have been kind of, I'm not gonna say erased. Some, I would say they're not as prevalent as they were. They're still there, but they're not as prevalent as they were. You can earn some money. Like, it's a lot of ways to earn money now. It's very competitive. You got globalism now. You know, that's where the whole Vivox and all of them came over. You got a lot of different factors, at play that weren't necessarily at play in the 50s and 60s and stuff like that. You didn't have the China um of 2000, you know, to now. Back in 1960, China was going through some, extreme hardships. Japan was rebuilding after World War II. India was pretty much dealing with the same issues China was dealing with, like severe poverty and all kinds of other stuff. So basically, it wasn't that much in the realm of competition as far as work and business as you do now with, basically globalism and, basically Asia rising, and even, Africa trying to rise and stuff like that. Those things weren't necessarily a factor like that, but um even still, black people weren't really making that much like that in the 70s and 60s and 50s and stuff like that either. So now you can say, yeah, black people are able to kind of earn a living, if you can turn the basketball wives off and read some books, learn how to do some things. If you're a woman, you definitely have more um, avenues to earn money. I'm not even gonna, you know, I know people in their mind, they jumped out the window into a OnlyFans pool, you know. Um, obviously, right, that's one aspect of it, the whole sex worker thing. But even beyond just not, taking the sex worker stuff out, women tend to earn more money and have more jobs, as far as, not earn more money, but they have opportunities that men don't have, like, just by proxy of just gender roles. Like, most nurses are women, most teachers are women. People are not comfortable with the idea of a man being a nanny or babysitter. I don't care what fucking, you know idea you think of yourself wanting to be that. People's idea of a fucking nanny, a caretaker, a child care worker, a teacher, a nurse is still a woman. I mean, that's just how that is. It's gonna be like that for a long time. And the thing is that, yeah, that opens a lot of doors for women and opportunity for them to, do certain roles and stuff like that, right? So some can say the same for men as far as things, a plumber, a construction worker, so on and so forth. But the thing is that, all that aside, it's a lot of opportunities. Okay, it is. Now, some people argue that there is not, but not, I don't know. I don't know how people's, idea of that. I guess it would depend on where you at financially. But the thing is that there are a lot of opportunities. Okay. My grandparents, grandmother growing up, she probably saw a lot of things that I didn't see, and also it was a situation where, and yeah, my grandmother just recently passed away a few days ago. So um yeah, I remember reading a paper from the 1950s in the classified ads. I mentioned this before. It said made, no Negroes. And this was legal to do. Like, you could put a classified ad and say no Negroes apply. This was a thing. Chicago Tribune, okay, 1950. No Negroes, right there. And it was like they were honest. They were honest with their dislike of black people, whatever. They would put in, you know, I don't know what Chicago's, political landscape was, but I believe it was still Democrat. Okay. Chicago has been Democrat for I don't know how long, but yeah, they Democrats are racist. In case you didn't know that. I mean, I know people think, okay, the Republicans are no, most white people are racist. Okay, that's just how it is. I mean, whether you like it or not, and it doesn't matter if they're a Democrat or Republican. Okay, um, I know that might blow your head up, but yeah, it, uh, it is a thing. Now, the thing is that yeah, these classified ads were, maids, butlers, nannies and stuff like that. And that was what you were pigeonholed to do. Shine shoes, you know, how you doing, sir? You know, that's what you had to do back then, man, to survive. You had to, how you doing, sir? you know, you know what I'm saying? How to do. I mean, that's what black people had to do, man. And to be honest, it really hasn't much changed, really, to be honest. Not like you think, because black people do not have that financial power that they want to have. And it's like, the thing is, black people are still beholden to white people for employment, and they absolutely know that. And that's not a good thing for black people, okay, obviously. But the thing is that even still, with all that being said, there's still more opportunities, okay. Now, I mean, the thing is that when it comes to the whole 9 to 5 versus street dude dynamic, I mean, a lot of that is based off of the degradation of society, of a lot of black men not having work and not being able to come from a situation where they're in a lower socioeconomic, um just life in general. Like, their parents probably are not really married or not together. Mother is most likely being raised by a single mother. So that, and then you couple that with the mother being in a welfare system, so they don't really have any money like that. They don't have any money really to move. The best thing the mother can do is move to another location, another part of the country that has some type of Section 8 voucher opening. All of this type of stuff, man. These guys deal with that. Basically, a lot of them did not choose the 9 to 5 road. They choose the street, road, or some of them would probably even say the streets chose them. Because you got to understand, hockey, a lot of times people are not able to put themselves in other people's shoes. They're not able to close their eyes and put themselves into other people's shoes. And a lot of times reading books kind of help with that, with that understanding. But let me see here. Got to charge this damn phone up. And some of this, let's see here. Oh man, this shit is crazy. What's going on here? This thing works when it wants to work. I might have to open my laptop up. Let's see here. All right. Let's see here. Give me a second. I'm gonna open my laptop up. It's just like I don't know what the fuck. Like this was just charging, and then now it's not charging. Like man, damn, my fucking laptop is updated. Well, I pretty much said what I needed to say. It really wasn't nothing much else. I don't think it was much else I needed to say. I mean, basically, um, all I was saying was that what a lot of these dudes like ended up doing was chasing capital. These street dudes, in the 9 to 5 dudes, I mean, obviously are kind of doing the same thing because both of these guys like are simping. A lot of these 9 to 5 dudes be simping, and the street dudes definitely be simping. And I've said, and I talked about this before. The street dude is actually one of the biggest simps because he's risking more for being a simp. And it's like they don't look at themselves as simps for whatever reason. And it's like, it takes somebody on the outside looking in to tell these dudes like you're a simp. You might have a gun with an itchy trigger finger. You might like to fight. You might be extremely aggressive or whatever, but you're still a simp because what are you look at the costs, like you going to jail for you doing something, you taking all of these penitentiary chances, right? And basically in order to make money to impress women. And then you see this shit, you see these guys, you know um they basically, you see the women that they get, right? The women that they get don't respect them, dog them out. you know you see it because, see, one of the things about the internet and cell phones and all this stuff, you start to see people's actual real life. It's like basically everybody has their own reality show, and you start to see how, kind of the everyday person can see how these dudes actually getting down. I mean, we already know the 9 to 5 dudes are simps as well, a lot of them. But the thing is that the street dude, he doesn't look at he criticizes, quote unquote, people that are not in the street or whatever. And he looks at guys that, go to school and stay out of trouble as you know, lesser than, or not as a real man or whatever, a tough guy or whatever. But the thing is that the 9 to 5 dude, he's not risking much, but like maybe some sleepless nights, some time going to work. Maybe if he's doing high intense labor, maybe some, say he working at a warehouse. Okay, yeah, he's working his ass off for it, and he's to be a simp. Okay, but the dude that's on the street, he's risking his entire body. Okay, his entire livelihood to basically chase money to impress women. And then you see these guys, a lot of these dudes is really ugly too. You really put the lens on it. A lot of these guys are ugly as fuck, and they basically they have some type of like complex about their looks, and then you hear like you basically they also don't like quote unquote guys that look better than them. They have a complex about that. Uh, you Alan Roger Curry talked a lot about that when he was alive. Like basically a lot of the hate that he got from other guys growing up in Gary, Indiana, because he was kind of pretty much a up and coming playboy, and in high school, and he used to get a lot of attention from women, and the guys hated that shit, and they wanted to fight him. Uh, Somebody said stack the deck, huh? What are you hun about? I don't, I don't know what you're hun about. But yeah, a lot of the street dudes, they don't look at themselves like simps. Now, some of them, I'm not saying all of the street dudes are simps, but because some of them are just they look at themselves as career criminals, but I'm just saying it is a lot of dudes that are both the same as 9 to 5 dudes. They are on some simp shit. There actually are simps because they do everything a simp would do. It's just the only difference is they're basically in the streets. Now, the consequences though for the street dude and the quote unquote 9 to 5 dude is a little different, even though the 9 to 5 dudes crash out every day too. 9 to 5 dudes crash out and um they do violent acts towards their significant other, their woman that they were dating, once it's a breakup. But the street dudes obviously are notorious for when they do the same thing. They tend to off their significant other um, a lot more. And it's other it's like the whole okay, I like street dudes thing is you hear the good, but you don't never hear, because I see it. I'm pretty much in the Chicago area, so I see the crash out. And when the crash out happens, a lot of these women get basically murdered. Um, and it's like Tommy Sotomayor. A lot of people don't like him, but you got to give him credit for coming up with the ED 209 and the BT 1000, the Ebony Destroyer 209, and Black Terminatrix 1000, because basically these are kind of like two tandems, and it's like they both like at odds with each other, and a lot of the streets dudes do off their fucking love interest, if you want to call it. I mean, I'm just trying to dress it up as far as for worse, but yeah, they do off them. You see it, you kind of see it like I want to say damn near on a daily basis in Chicago. These guys do they do off these women, you know and it's various types of women, because these guys, they prey on weak women, right? Because you got to understand, part of being in the gang is you gotta, it's like basically it's different avenues of income, right? One of the avenues of income, I'm gonna just I'm just gonna play this out till my phone dies. But one of the avenues of income is prostitution. So some of the guys seek out basically weak women to pimp them out. Okay, so one of the things what these guys do is, if these women to kind of keep up their street cred or whatever, they will off these chicks to kind of tie up loose ends if the woman is going to leave, or she's because you got to understand these. Once the woman is a prostitute, she's seen certain things that these pimps have done, violent acts. They basically been witness to a lot of different things, and one of those might be even murder. uh they will kill them if they threaten to leave, or if they think that they're gonna leave or something like that, because it's just a savage world, so it's a lot involved with that. But anyways, I may or may leave this up. It might be on my um brokegeniuses.com, my blog. So I don't know, I'm gonna think about it, but I prefer to put my live streams on my blog because I actually want to draw traffic over there. And it's a lot of things that I want to do with my blog as well, because basically I can set up different posts to where you got to pay to actually watch the video. I could do a lot. I mean, it's mind boggling like what I could do, but I'm gonna start utilizing my blog more. But um yeah, I might put this one on there because you know anytime I do talk, man, it's just totally different than what everybody else is talking about, because I am that nigga, man. I just have to inform you guys that if you didn't know. But uh yeah, you know I'll catch you on the next one.